there, Ryan Greenspan here from Team Dynasty, coming at you guys with Volume 2 of our instructional DVD, Dynasty Dissected. We're here at Raza Park, located inside of Mr. Paintball in beautiful San Diego. Todd Martinez has set up one of the best fields in all of the country. We're here to show you guys some of the best techniques that Dynasty knows and Dynasty does. We got the whole team here. The weather's always nice. The turf is beautiful. So sit back, relax, enjoy. Here we go.
How you doing? This is Todd Martinez from Team Dynasty. We're here at Pez Paintball, my pro shop in San Diego. A few things we're going to go over before we get into all the wonderful drills, tactics, skills that we're going to teach you in this wonderful video of ours. Is going to be the safety issues in paintball, as well as proper marker setup and some other small tips, that we could help you out with when getting involved in paintball and going to go out and have some fun at the field. Okay. As far as safety issues goes, the number one most important thing in paintball is your goggle system. Okay, walk into the paintball store, go ask questions, try on every single goggle because there's a bunch of different goggles that you can, for different people's face sizes and head sizes. Some people got some big old domes, some people got some little tiny little melons. When you get your goggle system, like these JT goggles, we've been wearing these for years. They're wonderful goggles. They're the most comfortable, the lightest, and the most breathable. When you look at these goggles, it's got full face and ear protection. Okay, you always want to be able to breathe, but keep your whole face pretty, because some of us are pretty. You got to not get that whole, teeth and jaw structure messed up. Lenses, okay? Lenses are super, super, super important. Never go out there with cracked or damaged lenses, okay? It's going to be your eyes. Try to prevent those accidents because, it's really not worth taking that risk. Always make sure you got good lenses in your goggles. All right? Second important safety issue in paintball is your barrel condom. All right? Take your barrel condom. Always have 1, 2, 3, or 5 of these things. My friends always forget them, lose them, so I just keep a whole bunch of them just in case, I need to start loaning them out. Barrel condom, okay? Put your barrel condom on your gun and keep yours on your gun until the referee, while you are standing in the flag station, tells you to take it off. So now that we're all caught up on our safety issues, the next thing we're going to talk about is our gun setup. Okay, when setting up your gun, straight out of the box, most of these high-end guns have it set up so you can just slap a tank on and go. Some people will make minor modifications to be able to have the gun set up properly for them. As far as the tank goes, you want to have the bottle set up to where the bottle is coming straight off the bottom of the grip. This allows you to have a balanced gun for when you're doing these drills that we're going to teach you. You're not going to be able to do these drills properly if you have a funky gun setup, to where it's not balanced, it's too high, too low, it's not right on, exactly where it needs to be. Okay, gun control is a big part of being able to do all the fundamentals in paintball that we're trying to teach you. All right, now we're going to go over the proper stance for paintball. Paintball, as any other sport, you want to be in a good athletic position to make moves, as you make decisions on the field. So, basically, you want to be just like in basketball or football when you're playing defense. You got it on the balls of your feet with your knees bent, your butt down, your back straight, and your head up. Did you get all that? Rewind and go over slow again and make sure you got all that. All right? You put your bottle in your shoulder and keep your elbow tucked underneath. So when you come out to snap shoot, nothing is exposed more than you want it to be. All right? Always keep your nose on the back of your gun so you can see where paintballs come flying off the end of your gun properly. If your gun's too high or too low, then you have the wrong gun set up. You need to go back, rewind, and watch the other section again. All right? So now that you're here, remember what I said. There's a checklist. Starts off toes, knees, butt, back, chin, elbow, eyes. Done? Done. Go out and have some fun. Watch the rest of this video and try and pick up on what we're trying to put down. One of the most important fundamentals of paintball is the ability to run and shoot.
You can become a more well-rounded paintball player if you can effectively nail down your ability to run and shoot.
You want to be able to move from bunker to bunker, or to be able to get to a spot on the break and be able to shoot your paintball gun accurately on the move. One of the drills that we designed to improve your performance on running and shooting is the obstacle course. The obstacle course incorporates running and shooting, as well as snap shooting, left and right-handed ability, and shooting off the break or sweet spotting.
Generally, when we have practice, we usually warm up with this drill. Either we do that in the warm-up, or we'll do it at the very end of the day. What you want to do is you set up about 5 or 6 targets throughout the field, starting from the breakout to the very end when you have to bunker out the last player. As soon as you hit your first target, you take off and sprint to the 50-yard line. Then you shoot 2 more predetermined targets right away, and then you keep making moves down the field. as you progressively get down towards the opponent's side of the field, you're going to be shooting targets that are closer and closer. A good way to show improvement on this is we time each other. So the moment you start shooting your gun off the break, the clock starts. Once you hit the target successfully, you're going to run straight up to the center 50. You're going to get there, you're going to wrap around, shoot 2 more predetermined targets. Now this is when it gets a little more tricky. What you're going to do is you're going to have 2 targets left. One's going to be on the Dorito side and one's going to be in the snake corner. But in order to shoot and bunker out the Dorito side target, you're going to slowly walk up there, blocking out the snake corner, and then roll out and snap shoot that corner. But to make it more realistic, like I said, and to make it a little more advanced, what you're going to do is you're going to have one of your own players stay in that back corner. And in case you guys get a little sloppy or you try to cheat it out a little bit, if you ever expose yourself too much to this snake corner, your friend's just going to rip you apart. So if Todd were to do it, I know he'd do it right, but just in case he was like getting a little fatigued, a little tired, and he runs a little too far and gets sloppy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be hiding back there and I'm going to shoot him as he comes out too far. This is also another way to remember how to play the bunker and play the angle of it. I'm just making sure that we're keeping it as realistic as possible and making sure that the mistakes aren't going to actually happen out on the field. They're only going to happen in the drill.
The obstacle course is really what you make it. Every single drill that you can possibly practice in paintball is something that you can incorporate into your obstacle course.
Diving and sliding is a very important part of becoming a complete paintball player. To dive properly, you need to use speed, agility, and be able to fully commit to your dive. There's many different ways you can complete a dive. For example, if you're going to dive into the snake, it will be a head first dive. If you're going to dive into a larger bunker, you can stay higher by going in like a baseball slide.
I think the most important thing as to running and diving and sliding the right way is speed. The faster you go, the easier it is to dive, the easier it is to control yourself.
A way a lot of people get in trouble while diving is by putting their 2 knees down before they complete their whole body dive. If you try to do this, your knees will stick and you will face plant directly into the ground. When you dive, you want to use your whole body to absorb the entire shock of the dive versus using one point of your body to absorb the entire shock of the dive. For example, if you put your left hand down before you put any other part of your body down, your left hand is going to absorb the whole shock of the dive, giving it a very likely chance of injuring yourself. Versus if you lay out your entire body, which might be scary, this is why commitment's important, and come down with your legs and your chest and your arm all at the same time, this will work much like a snowshoe works versus walking with regular shoes in the snow.
Do it the right way, get as close to the ground as possible, and you'll be good.
You need to be very careful and make sure you're diving correctly so you don't injure yourself. A drill we're going to use to practice diving is a one-on-one drill. The way this drill works is you have one player on each side of the field. They run to a mirrored spot, the snake or the Dorito. They dive into that spot, pop up, shoot 3 preset targets, and then proceed to play one-on-one once those targets are shot.
The key importance is not necessarily speed, but accuracy. As soon as you get into your snake bunker or Dorito bunker, you want to make accurate shots across the field. If you do shoot your targets before the other guy does, and you make a mental note that he is still shooting, then move bunkers. Do not stand there and wait for him to come out of bunker. If you move before he does, he has to find you. The next drill that we're going to incorporate is a snake drill. The reason for this drill is to perfect the ability to get in a snake bunker. A lot of times people get in there and they blow their shots. It's because they panic, they see a guy in the wide open, they plain and simply miss. The purpose of this is to get in your bunker, calm and collective, be able to see a target, stay as small as possible so they do not see you, and at the same time be able to shoot 2 or 3 guys and then be able to attack your opponent at your mirror. Set up 5 predetermined targets. Your job, start in the back center in a shooter stance. You're going to shoot a back center cone at your mirror. Once you hit the cone, then you can move. Do not move before you hit the target. Once you shoot that target, you run, dive inside the snake, shoot 2 more targets. Back corner shot, and then cross field, usually they're a Dorito shot. Once you hit those 2 targets, you know to safe proceed. Go out, bunker your mirror, and finish the game. Make sure to run this drill 3 to 5 times to simulate real game fatigue. You can incorporate your whole team in this drill, because in a real game scenario, anybody could be playing the snake.
Field awareness is a very important part of becoming a great paintball player. Field awareness is the ability to know where your opponents are and where your teammates are all at the same time. It's also the ability to know
where your opponents are when you're moving and when you're shooting. You always want to have your head up and your eyes open to figure out where the paintballs are coming from, to locate your opponent, and to divert if you need to.
Field awareness is important because you need to play tight in your bunkers, you need to know where the opponent is, and know where the paint's coming from. This is something you're going to use when you're playing behind bunkers, or also when you're playing bunkers like the Snake or the Dorito. You're going to want to be able to quickly see the stream of paint coming at you and be able to get out of the way.
It's also really important when you want to make a move, because when you're moving down the field, you need to know where your opponents are, because that's where you're going to get shot from. Also, it's a really good exercise to keep your peripheral vision working at all times. In paintball, one of the major hindrances people have is getting tunnel vision. That means looking in one specific area and focusing on only that area. Now, paintball field is big and there's enemies everywhere, so you need to have your peripheral vision working for you the most efficient way as possible. The first drill we're going to show you to practice field awareness is called the dodgeball drill. This drill can be practiced in many different ways and modified to suit different tactics. The first way we're going to show you dodgeball is there's going to be one person with a gun, one person without a gun. They're going to be the field length apart from each other. The player with a gun will shoot one ball at the player without the gun. He'll be in a ready stance, knees bent, feet a little bit about shoulder width apart, hands up, and ready to dodge that paintball. Once he gets his feet set again, then the shooter can take another shot at him. This repeats over and over until you get tired or until you want to switch. Another way you can do this drill is every time the shooter takes a shot, if the guy dodges it, then he can take one more step towards the shooter. If he doesn't dodge it, then he can stay where he is until he does dodge it.
Another variation for this drill is both people have guns. So both players are going to be in the power stance, holding their gun, pointing it at the opponent downfield, and just taking one shot at each other. Dodge, duck, dive, out of the way of the lasers.
So in the second variation of the drill, each player has a gun. Player A will take a shot, player B will dodge it. Player B will then take a shot, player A will dodge it. Make sure to let your opponent get set up and prepared before you shoot at him. Keep in mind that you want your barrel to be parallel to the horizon at all time. This makes you in the ready position, ready to shoot, move, or react at all times. This is the position that you always want to be in, and you should maintain throughout this entire drill. The third and final modification we have for this drill is it's two players. Each player has a gun, but every time they shoot at each other, they take one step closer towards each other. So once you get too close to your opponent, then you're probably going to want to stop playing or back up. It's a very fun drill to do, and you can modify it any way you want yourself that you think will help your own ability and your own field awareness and reaction speed.
One thing that sets apart the top pro teams is their stamina and their ability to play at 110% on Sunday afternoon in the finals.
One of the things that we do to do conditioning is a drill that not only helps our physical athletic ability, but also our performance on the field, and that's the cone drill. Okay, the cone drill helps us practice not only getting ourselves in shape, building stamina, as well as keeping our head ups while we're on the paintball field so that we can see what's going on the field and make well-informed decisions, as well as holding our gun and practicing our basic fundamentals properly.
For this drill, we usually set up about 6 to 8 cones. They're staggered throughout the field in a zigzag pattern. And what you want to do is you want to run across each cone, sliding with your gun in the opposite hand every way you go. So basically what you do is you do a kind of a baseball slide or a soccer slide tackle maneuver, and you go around each cone, switching hands as you go. Usually we want to do this about 4 to 5 times, so that way everybody cycles through it, and it'll get you good and tired after that. You know, you pretty much are going to be winded after you do this about 5 or 6 times. So some proper technique as far as sliding. We do want to practice a lot of safety. There is a possibility for injury when you're doing these slides, so the one thing you want to remember is you're kind of acting as your body as like a tripod. You'd want to make sure that you have an equal balance across your body. So you use your main leg that you slide on as the centerpiece. You use your back arm, which is your off arm that does not have your marker in it, and you use that to balance so in case you fall backwards. And you use your front leg to stop your slide as you go, and you'll spring up into action.
Okay, because in paintball, you know, being a very demanding sport on your body, in addition to wearing, you know, proper padding and protective gear, you really want to practice things so that, you know, when you put your hands down, you don't hurt your fingers, your wrists, you know, when you slide, you don't hurt your knees or your shins. You need to do the drill properly.
Remember, there's 6 to 8 cones, and you're going around them. You always want to keep your gun in your off hand, okay? So you always want to keep your gun away from your opponents. That just also helps because if you need to draw up on your opponents, you're shooting across your body. That's one big thing to learn.
This drill works on the fundamentals of agility, basic positioning of a paintball player, how you hold your gun, how you move, speed, athleticism, as well as an overall understanding of the game, because what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a position where You're trying to keep yourself in the basic paintball mode where you're holding your gun, in the proper form, and you're keeping your head up and trying to understand, what's going on during any specific paintball game.
Sliding with your head up and the ability to get on your feet as quick as possible is a really big part in paintball. All right, this is really good when you have to run out to the corners and you have to sprint out there really fast. You want to get up and get your gun up and ready to go. A more advanced way to do this drill is you set up targets after each slide. So you go around the corner, you draw your gun up, you take your shot, and then you take off again. So this cone drill, not only are we able to consistently run and consistently perform and build our endurance up, we're able to practice that one slide that's going to get up on our feet quicker than our opponents. So not only do we have the edge as far as stamina-wise, we have the edge as far as getting up to our bunkers and getting our guns up immediately.
As we've come through our paintball career, we've realized that there's very important things that go along with team paintball. That is teamwork, communication, coordinated movement, creativity, and aggressive play.
So in this section, we're going to introduce the 2-on-5 drill. Usually in this drill, you're going to line up 2 or 3 cones on the center of the field or on their side of the field as an objective.
There's one team that has 2 gunners only. They're in stationary positions and cannot move on the field. And the other team has 1 gunner who's in the back center and is also stationary and has 4 runners that he helps command and move down the field using coordinated movement and aggressive play.
In this drill, the 2 players' objective is to protect their cones. Now, in a paintball game, that is a flag or their side of the field, and you're playing for like a stalemate at this point in time or the win. So what you want to do is stay together, communicate, and protect the lanes. So you're going to watch zones and always be working together, communicating back and forth. Communication is one of the most important parts of this drill.
The team of 5 players, only one of those players has a gun, and his job is basically to help the other 4 players who do not have guns achieve the objective. As one of the 4 runners, you have to utilize skills in creativity, blocking out, finding blind spots on the field, communicating with your teammates, and using distraction runs or dummy plays to distract the shooters from staying on the zones that they're supposed to be on.
Sometimes, just like during the game, you need to sacrifice a body to get to an objective. So sometimes you're going to have a guy do a move that is not worthwhile on the field for himself, but it will be worthwhile for the team. He's going to try to run and distract the guns while another player achieves the goal.
Just like in a normal paintball game, at the end of the game you need to break down that zone. You get everyone up to the 50s so they can't possibly shoot at everyone at once, and you make your final push. One thing that I think this drill is really good for is finding all those little blind spots that are either in the open or behind bunkers or spots that you normally wouldn't go to if you were playing a normal game, but because you know where the 2 gunners are and they can't move, you can kind of exploit that and you can kind of explore the paintball field more.
Positives can be taken out on both ends of this drill for your team. 2 players on the end can learn to work together in the end of a game situation, and the 4 players moving with 1 gunner can help them move aggressively and learn aggressive play. So if you have your less aggressive players, this would be a great drill for them. And you can put your front players in the back corner and let them learn what the back players are usually facing against in late games.
A basic rule to live by when you're doing this drill is if you're not shooting, you're not talking, or you're not moving, you're not really playing. When we use this drill in practice or in a clinic, it's amazing to see what people will get away with and the risks they're willing to take when they don't have a gun.
Preparing for a paintball game involves mapping out a game plan, walking the field, and giving everyone a specific job.
When mapping out the field and coming up with a game plan, we make sure to name every single bunker on the field.
Labeling bunkers is a very important part of making a game plan. Use 1-syllable words that carry very well.
That way, when we're playing a game and someone yells, "They're in the 50 snake," we know that he can shoot the back left corner, the back left beast, and the back center. Knowing what each bunker is called and what it can do is very important.
There's a lot of different ways to try to play a game. Everyone could just run to their first primary spots and try to fight it out with the other team. This is probably the least effective way to play a game and where most teams fail. You want to take a piece of paper, map out the game plan, show where everyone's going to go, and where their secondary spots are.
When setting up a game plan, we examine the field and look at what the most advantageous spots to be in are. If there's a giant snake where you can shoot at everyone on the field, then we try to control that spot and try to get down the snake, and that's our main objective for the game. If the Dorito side is better, then we try to move more bodies over there and push that side.
Something to consider while playing a tournament game is who your opponent is, what they're likely to do, and what to do to counteract that. Something that most teams don't do that is very important at a tournament is scout the other team. Watch what they do, find what patterns they develop, and figure out ways to break these patterns down.
As you create your game plan, you should come up with many different scenarios that will affect your game plan. you should be able to react to these knowing exactly how people's jobs are going to change and exactly what they're supposed to do when you say lose 2 players off the break or shoot 2 players off the break or lose a tape or gain control of a tape.
For example, if your game plan is to attack down the snake and you lose your first snake attack, stick with the game plan. The next guy should shift over there, maybe even someone from the other side of the field needs to shift over there. Your best chance of winning that game is sticking with the game plan and following through to the last man.
We also create code words for different scenarios. For example, if we blow out their whole snake tape and they don't have anyone in the snake corner or the snake or our god bunker, then we call Ludanian. And that means to everybody on our team that we have control of the snake, we need to get players into positions to control that zone. Now there's definitive jobs and there's reactionary jobs. A definitive job is like running to a snake. Off the break, you're going somewhere, you're doing a certain thing, and that is basically what you're going to be doing for the entire game.
If your job is to run to the center, look one way and lock down a zone, that's your job for the game. It might suck, it might take a long time, you might not shoot anybody the whole game, but that's your job for the game to help the team win.
There's also reactionary jobs. That requires you to think on your feet, observe what's going on, communicate with players, and basically fill voids that will help your team win the game.
It is every individual's responsibility to tell his teammate how he's going to play his spot. If you're going to play it submissively and try to stay alive, your teammates should know that. If you're going to try to play it aggressively and get a kill real quick, your teammates might know that you have a chance of getting shot early, so look for you to be walking off the field. If your job for that in particular game is to run to the snake as fast as you can and dive in there and stay alive for as long as you can, you should do that job as best you can and your teammates should know that. Also, the insert guy behind that knows that that guy running to the snake is taking a risk, so he knows his job is after that, if we lose that guy, to get into that snake after him. Now, is he going to get into the snake as quick as he can after him? Is he going to take his time? Those are all things that need to be discussed before the game. When starting a paintball game, you always want to get your gun up as fast as possible to get those first balls out of your gun to hit your opponent. That requires lining up in an athletic stance with your arms across your body and your gun touching the net. This way, you only have to move your gun about 90 degrees or so to have your barrel pointed at your opponent. Versus if your gun is behind you, below your waist, and you have to pull your gun all the way up to shoot, it's about 180 degrees.
Basically, you want to minimize the amount of distance your gun has to travel to get to its place where you're going to shoot them off the break. When teams line up in the flag station, one of the most important things we look at is if they're giving anything away.
If a player lines up in a three-point stance, ready to run real far, he probably is going to run far. If his shoulder's square to you, with his gun touching the flag station across his chest, he'll probably be shooting at you. This is another thing you can use to throw your opponent off.
Starting a paintball game and playing a paintball game this way is really effective because it doesn't give away in any kind of body language what you're going to do next.
So when you're preparing for a game, make sure you have all angles covered and you know your jobs.
Make sure to prepare for every scenario. Make sure that everyone on your team knows the scenarios and knows how their job might change, supposing something drastic happens.
I'm going to take you guys through a walk, day in my life of the job of running front. The first and most important rule to becoming a good front player is staying alive. First thing is you don't want to give your opponent any advantage. What I mean by that is by starting backwards, if you position yourself with your gun back in a running stance like this, it's pretty simple. Your opponents are going to know what you're going to do. You're going to run. They have the advantage because they know you're not shooting back at them. All they have to do is shoot some paintballs in your direction. Odds are they're going to hit you. The proper way, with your foot touching, your gun back, starting so you're ready to shoot back at your opponents. This way you're doing one of two things. You have the advantage of shooting at them. The second thing, they don't know what you're going to do. You could either stop short and shoot at them. You can run all the ways to the corner and shoot at them. You can drop your gun, run all the ways to the snake. You control the advantage instead of them knowing exactly what you're going to do. From this point, I'm going to run straight to the snake, looking at my opponents. If by running, with your head down running, and you see a lot of times that people like to put their hands up in front of their goggles, that's not a correct thing to do. It's pretty simple. If you put your hand up in front of your goggles, you can't see. If you're going to get shot in the goggles, you're going to get shot in the goggles. That's just the odds. Putting your hand up, blocking your vision doesn't help anymore. All right, now that you made it to the snake, safely and alive, you get in here, you get set, and you start locking off zones. That's your first job. Get in here, pay attention, and know if you shot somebody off that side of the field. If you shot somebody off that side of the field, your job, get in here, stay alive, completely blocked out from everybody else, and lock off that zone. All right, one of the things I'm going to go over is to teach you guys a proper way to make good snake movements. A lot of people don't ever put focus on that. Like, you know, snake movements, they don't ever think it's important. It's extremely important. You need to be ready at all times to do any type of job. Either running down, bunkering the guy. If you hear somebody, like he's running through the middle, you need to be able to react, turn in the middle. You need to be able to do pretty much anything from here. The big key is here is not be on both knees. Definitely not laying down like this. That's a no-no. You should never ever lay down in the snake. The best way to do it is to at least have one foot planted and create a center of balance. This way you're perfectly balanced, you're more mobile, I'm the same height as I was on my knees, and this way, if you come out and you see that you have both guys in, it's real simple. One and down. Takes one move. If you are on your knees and you need to make that emergency bump, you still have to get up, shift all your weight, and then go. At this point, you should know better. So pretty much anytime you're in the snake, you need to have this foot up. If you have your other foot up, like this, you're off balance. So when you push, you're pushing out like that. And all it's gonna do is push your momentum that way. You have to correct it to get back in the snake, and that throws off balance. Real important, if you're down this side, left-handed down the snake, you need to have your left foot up. And that way, it's a lot easier to control where your foot is lined up here so nobody can shoot you in the foot. And another part, usually in X-ball this comes into a big key where you have coaches. If you're down here and you hear them saying he's coming in the highway is what we call him pretty much running down the right side. It's real simple. If you're leaned out, you're already balanced right here perfectly on your leg. All you do is lift up and you can see everything. So you come out here, if you hear they're running down the Doritos, it's real simple. You're leaned out, you push back like this. And now you switched all your weight to your right foot. You're just like this. You can catch anybody running through the center of the field. If you need to, you go right back to here. It's real simple. As long as you keep this left leg up and in a power position, then you're able to make 3 movements. That's going to save your life every single time. Like I said before, staying alive is the most important role. It's impossible for me to go over every scenario that you're going to encounter. There's just way too many, and the only way you can figure those out is by practicing. Put yourself in those scenarios. You need to get in a bunker, keep your composure, and do your job. That's it. Don't get bored. Don't do anything stupid. It's all about thinking in paintball. You have to be able to make the right decisions, the right timing. It's a smarter player in paintball that always wins. Once you figure it out and get used to being in those positions, then you'll be able to become extremely effective as a front player.
Hi there, I'm Ryan Greenspan from Team Dynasty. I'm here today to show you guys a couple things that I do on the field, kind of a quick walkthrough on my job and my position as a midfield player. As I start, I'm just kind of lined up with my body facing the opponents straight on the field so I can kind of see everything out there. And what I do is as soon as we say go, I have my predetermined lane that I'm going to be shooting. I usually just kind of cruise up here. I'm generally with another person, probably like Yosh or Davey Williamson or Todd. They'll usually be in the back center with me, one of the two of them. So it kind of gets a little tight. And so I'm usually, because I'm smaller, I get a little lower than everybody else. But basically I find a predetermined shot that I want to take. And then as soon as the game breaks out and I see the other opponents take their spots and I make sure that everybody's kind of alive, I then go to my secondary spot. Lately I've been playing more on the snake side of the field. So I'd identify where the 2 guys are, or 3 guys are on this side of the field. So I'd yell, you know, back left, God bunker, snake, any of the spots that'll help my front guys and everybody else in the back center relay it across the field. So everybody knows where my guys are on this side of the field. Then of course, Davey or Todd or somebody, whoever's sharing the back center with me, will also tell me what's going on that side of the field. So that's kind of how we go through from the breakout. Now that I tell everybody over here and I make sure that everybody's alive and well and, you know, Angel's up in the snake, what I'll do is I'll take off probably to something over here. This is a really good mid-level spot. And generally from here, I can move anywhere on the field, okay? As a mid player, my job is to know how to play everybody else's spot and to know that if something goes wrong, I can fill out anywhere. So say we lose Angel. My job is now to be the second backup into the snake side. If we were to lose Brian in the back corner, my job would be to fill out there or to make sure that coordinate something so that somebody gets out there. Hopefully, everything goes according to plan and I can kind of play freely and I can figure out what I want to do. As a mid player, I can kind of see what's going on and coordinate the game plan, and from here I can move up into the center of the field. the center of the field is generally something that I can get up there and I can lock down something. So if I move up to the center, that means our other back center guy can kind of come up in here and play freely and do the job that I was going to do. From the center, say I go this way, it gets kind of tricky coming up into this area because both the tapes can look in and see me. But if we don't have anybody in the snake on the opponent's side, if none of the bad guys are in the snake, what I can do is I can get into a position like this center wedge or the 50 tent. I can get up into those spots and make sure that Angel's protected the whole time. So if I get up all the way up into here, you know, I check off. First thing I do is when I get up into these two center bunkers that are kind of in the middle of the field, what I'll do is I'll check off the outside tapes. You know, before I go and commit to get into a 50, I want to make sure both my guys are still alive, everybody's still good, and I want to make sure that, you know, nobody's moved up into these 50s that'll shoot me as I move up into the field. So now once I kind of hop up the field, I'll get into a 50-yard line bunker. Hopefully the game's going according to plan and everything's good and we haven't lost anybody. None of the opponents have really made a move up the field. So usually from the back center to my first move and all the way up into the center or into the snake or wherever, usually takes about 1 minute, at most, at most. I'm out of the back center within the first 15, 20 seconds. From there, I'm out of that spot pretty quickly as well, unless I have a predetermined job that I have to stay and watch. From here, so generally my job will be here. If all plans go accordingly, I'll come into here and I'll watch the zone, the snake zone. If I'm here, I know for a fact that nobody's gonna get down the field and, you know, get into the snake on the opponent's side. So as Angel kind of hops up the legs of the snake, he knows that I have him and he's protected and he'll be looking this way. So we'll kind of zone up and both watch each other. So basically, in a hole, a mid player needs to be able to play in the back, the front, and everywhere in between there, okay? If I carry 6 pods and we lose our corner guy who carries 9 or 11, I have to be able to fill out there and conserve my paint and successfully do this job. So it is a little bit tougher of a job to play in the middle. A lot of people think it's just like, oh, this is the cool thing, I'll play the insert spot and I'll be able to kind of roam around and do whatever I want. It is fun and you do have, you know, a lot of freedom. However, it kind of sucks if you have to fill into the snake one game and the next game you go out, you have to fill into the back corner. It's like you need to be on your toes and you need to keep your head on a swivel. A lot of it goes into planning and being prepared. I need to know every bunker on the field and where all my teammates are going. So it's a really fun job to be able to play in the middle and be free and kind of roam around and check things out. But at the same time, I need to know exactly what's going on the field at all times.
Hi, I'm Yosh Rao and I play back for Team Dynasty. Right now I'm going to walk you through the different positions that I play and basically show you what a back player does as the game progresses. Off the break, generally my job is going to be to shoot someone off the break or to lock a lane down. If you can pick a lane that you know they're going to run through and you put balls that are this far apart, because all the guns are really fast now, there's a really good chance you're going to hit that player. When I'm starting in the flag station, I like to get some muscle memory down. So if I know that I'm going to shoot the lane for the god right there, then I hold my gun like this, everyone lines up in the flag station like we're going to, and right before the game starts, I bring my gun up, just like this. Muscle memory. Every time I do that, I'm basically reassuring myself that I'm on the right trajectory, and I'm bringing my gun to the right spot. So I'm going to start behind my players. The insert and the front players are going to start in front of me, basically all in the same stance, ready to shoot. Off the break, I pick a spot where I know a player is going to run through, and I put a solid lane of paint there. While I'm doing that, I'm watching all other parts of the field to see where other players are running, so that when I get to my bunker and we start the game, then I can tell all the rest of my players on my team exactly where they are, what parts of the field we control, and maybe if we've taken any losses. Hopefully not. The other reason that I would shoot off the break is to protect one of my players. We call this a man protect. It's a really simple thing, but it's a concept that a lot of people don't understand. Basically, if you're a shooter, your main objective is to shoot anyone running out to the tapes or up the center. When you do a man protect, all you're doing is you're stepping out, shooting back at their shooters. Now, as simple as that seems, it really is an important job, because one thing it does is, as a back player comes into their center spot shooting for your guy, paint starts coming in on them, and they don't know exactly where it's coming from, and it really messes up their shot. Another thing is, a lot of teams like to stack up the back center. So if you have 2 people man protecting for someone running far, maybe 1 person on each side, then there's a lot of paint coming in here, and you have a high likelihood of shooting one of their back players, you know, which is a key part of the game. So when the whistle blows, I start shooting, I move my way up to my bunker so that I can escape any man protect that the other team is doing. Basically, even if I shoot somebody off the break and I get shot, on Team Dynasty we don't really feel like that's worth it. You know, we never really want to trade body for body unless we have to. So off the break, we try to get everyone into their bunkers alive. I come in here, either I'm alone or I'm with somebody else. If I'm with someone else, then we have to be efficient about our space. You know, we kind of have to decide before the game who's going to be in front, who's going to be behind. If we're both shooting the same way, someone's got to be low, someone's got to be high, you know. These are really simple things, but it really helps out if you figure this stuff out beforehand. One of the most important things that I do after the whistle starts is I relay calls from one side of the field to the other. Also, because I'm in a stand-up and I'm in the back, I generally have a lot more freedom to look around and observe what's going on, you know. So I can pick up moves that other people don't. I can also pick up opportunities that other people don't. So as I come in here, I'm monitoring both sides of the field. I figure out what's going on. Generally, if I shoot that first player downfield, now it's my job to lock that zone off and not let them fill that bunker. So now my job is somewhat boring, but very important, because I'm sitting here, I'm locking this zone down, not letting him in the god. And I'm not just looking for the guy moving and kind of like being lazy. I'm constantly shooting my gun, constantly putting a wall of paint there so that even if they do move and I don't catch it, at least I have paint in the air and I can adjust to right where the guy's gonna slide. Now, the worst situation is when we set up a game plan, we have shooters, we have runners, we shoot off the break and we don't hit anybody, but we end up losing somebody. So let's imagine that we lose this back right corner over here, okay? So I come in, I do my job, we don't shoot anybody over here, these guys look like they're all right, I do a quick look over here, I see a ref coming in and pulling him off the field, okay? So now I have to assess whether it's more important for me to continue doing this job, or is it important for me to do that guy's job, who a lot of people seem to be counting on, you know? So I look over here. If they're flooding that zone with paint, then I have to be patient. I have to wait here. If I can do that guy's job from here, then I should do it the best that I can. Obviously, he's going to have different angles. He's going to be able to help different players out from there. So eventually, I'm going to want to get over there. But in the meantime, I have to be patient. I don't want to rush things and get shot myself, and then we're ending up going down two bodies. So I'm looking out here, I'm trying to get help from my players up there. Basically, I'm keeping up the communication. I make sure that BC and Angel know that we've lost our player over here, and I wait to make my move over there, okay? Once I can get help, or I can put people in myself, I make a quick bounce out here. And now, basically, on my move, I'm keeping my eyes open for streams of paint, for bodies that maybe we didn't detect. So I get out here and I assess the situation. If I can see anything new, then I make sure to tell everybody. Still, as a back player, my main objective is to communicate and to help people do their jobs and help people achieve the goals that we're trying to do. So I make sure that everyone on the field knows what's up. G count, ball count, positioning. If anybody needs any specific help, then I try to help that along. So now I take over a corner, and this is kind of a different position, because now, basically, my job is to be controlling the tape, not allowing them to come around the tape unprotected and just come right down the field and get into the 50 Dorito. So now it's like a battle down the tape, constantly fighting down the tape. But at the same time, I realize that we're down one body, so I don't want to take any unnecessary risks. So I play tight enough where if they sneak into the snake and no one tells me, then I won't get shot by that guy, so I tuck in enough, and I kind of pick and choose my gun battles over here. Basically, I'm letting them know that I'm not going to give them any free moves, but I'm not trying to take the risk and get shot. Most important thing as a back guy is to communicate and basically make sure the game plan is going the way that you dictated it on paper before the game even started. With that in mind, you have to realize that mid players can always fill front player spots and back players can always fill mid player spots, but rarely is there an opportunity for a front player or a mid player to fill to a back spot. So you have to play patient, you have to play careful, keep your eyes open, and observe everything that's going on.
Time and time again, I'll be watching games and I'll see a lot of new players and even established pro players. They'll get into that key 50 spot and they'll give their position away right away by just engaging the enemy. So if I can capitalize on that and I do get into the center 50 unnoticed, what I want to do is I kind of want to hunch down and hide in there and don't let the opponents know that I'm in there. So what I do is instead of engaging them right in front of me, I sit back a little bit and wait for the player to move into the snake or the Doritos. And I'll just be keyed up on that one little spot where he has to dive, and 9 out of 10 times I'm going to shoot him all at the side of the body.
A little tip I like to show you guys is a little snake action. I call it the doo-wop loop-de-loo. Basically how it goes is if there's a guy in your mirror or in the next snake notch up from you, your main problem is obviously dealing with that guy in front of you. Either you can try to snap shoot him out, try to go bunker him, or, you know, whatever. But I think a really effective way trying to work them out of there is this little technique I like to show you guys. Basically how it works is you exchange with your opponent a couple times on the tape, or just let him have dominance on you on the tape. Take a step inside, pop over the top of your bunker, and you'll have a shot at the edge of his goggles and the edge of his loader and maybe his elbow. So basically, you can only try this once or twice maybe in a game, and it only works when you can pop over the top of your bunker, obviously. But it's a little baiting technique, and definitely has worked for me and saved many games for people that I've seen. So, you know, you can whip it out when the game's on the line.
I play the snake corner, so a big part of the snake corner is staying in control down the tape, and by doing so you have to be in a firefight for most of the entire game with your mirror. So one thing that I really look for is I watch the person who's playing my mirror in the snake corner watching their paint coming in. So most of the time I'm so used to the length of the field I can keep my gun up at the right angle, so I know the paint's coming in on them. I'm just watching their paint coming in on me, so I stay out of their way. If for some reason they get the advantage, you know, maybe I'm not loading with my gun up and, you know, they start owning the tape, I'll do other sort of ways to gain control of the wire. Like if I can safely wrap inside and shoot my guy in for a quick second and then come back up and control the tape, I'll do that. Or if I need to, I'll drop to a lower spot in the bunker, come out, try to gain control again. All right, so I normally always play the snake corner because I'm one of those players that will get in the snake. If anything bad happens, we lose Angel out of the snake, you know, I could quickly get in there and take care of business, put some people down. If you're a back player and you don't play the snake, this is not the position for you. You should not play the snake corner.
Nowadays, I see a lot of kids trying to close out games, and instead of thinking and getting to your spot and looking around and using what you have, using bunkers to block other guys out, they'll just run blazing down the field and get shot to pieces by the two corner guys. The two guys in the back really know how to stay alive, and just by giving them a free body, sprinting down the field, that's what they're planning on you doing. So they're waiting for that. They're waiting for it to get a body sprinting down the field, and that's a free kill to them. You don't want to give them that advantage. You're up on bodies, you want to keep it up on bodies, and you want to make sure that you don't lose anybody on that attack. And I really like to take the time to look around, use my other players to put people in, get into sneaky spots, shoot that guy in the loader, and then go run and bunker the last guy.
The thing that I'd like people to realize is that paintball, you know, as in any other sport, the more competitive you play, you know, the higher levels you get as you progress, you know, you're going to deal with a lot more pressure, you know, a lot more people that, you know, really want what you have. Smart man once told me paintball is 1% running out here and 99% in your mind. You know, as long as you can have the confidence in yourself to, you know, to actually truly believe, you know, I've worked hard, I've come to practice, I've played many days in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, whatever it is. I've prepared myself for this, you know. You always hear Alex Frady talking about heart. You know, that's the thing, you know, that sets us apart, you know, because deep down in here, everybody really wants it. Everybody's like, you know, this is the one thing that I strive hardest for in my life, you know, to be. And, you know, in my heart, that's what I really want. And in my mind, I believe that I can do it. You know, I look at Ryan Greenspan, Alex Frady, Yosh, I look at them and I'm like, I believe in you, you know? And they look at me and they say, I believe in you. And that's the reason why we can have, you know, success the way we do, because, you know, we're not out here trying, you know, we're out here doing to show people who we are, you know, and that's, you know, strong, you know, mentally prepared, physically tested individuals who just happen to be dashingly good looking, every single last one of them, you know?
Hi, I'm Thane Pittman, athletic trainer for the San Diego Dynasty. With competition getting more intense, Dynasty look to take their game to the next level. During this segment of the DVD, I'm going to take you through the same workout routines that Team Dynasty goes through day in and day out. And there's no better place to start than warming up. Warm-ups are exercises done at a very low level of intensity to warm your muscles up and get them ready for a higher level of intensity exercise, which would include stretching. A good and simple warm-up is nothing more than going for a light, easy 5 to 10 minute jog prior to stretching. Warm muscles have a higher blood supply, which lessens the muscle's risk of injury during stretching and more strenuous activity. Stretching will lessen the risk of injury in high-impact sports due to increased flexibility, and also will make the muscle use its energy more efficiently. Stretching before practice will greatly reduce your risk of injury, and making sure you stretch after practice will increase the blood flow to your muscles, which will help flush out built-up lactic acid and leave you not as sore the next day. When stretching your hamstrings, one of the most important things is to keep your back straight. Don't slouch and bend at your hips. When stretching your quads, lay on your side, bring your heel towards your back, and then extend your leg back. When doing this stretch, you'll want a 90-degree bend at your knee, and you'll want your chest to come directly over your knee, bending at your hips. When stretching your calf, place one foot on the back side of your heel, and then apply pressure to your forefoot. When stretching your groin, place your hands on your feet and apply light pressure with your elbows. When doing this stretch, cross your legs and use your opposite arm to apply pressure to stretch your lower back. Speed training is a very important part in most sports. With proper speed training, you can see huge improvements in not only speed and explosiveness, but also footwork. For speed training, we incorporate wind sprints. Wind sprints can be done anywhere in a range from 10 to 100 yards. Speed training also includes lateral speed, which is very important to a paintball player. Lateral or side-to-side movements are unique in the fact that they require single leg strength not only to stop movement, but also to restart movement into a different direction. This is the shuttle run. The shuttle run is designed to improve lateral speed and agility. This exercise is done with resistance bands. It's designed to improve lateral strength. Before and after every speed workout, there should be a stretching program in place. It is very important that you warm up and stretch before every workout. To finish Dynasty's workout, we end with core training. Your core consists of large groups of muscles located in your trunk. Your trunk consists of everything from your hips to your shoulders. Training of this area is crucial for muscle stabilization. Having a strong core will also aid in overall body posture and balance, as well as generating force when making sudden movements. This is your everyday sit-up. The sit-up is designed to strengthen your abdominal muscles and your lower back. This is a leg raise. Simply lift your heels 6 inches off the ground and hold for a brief period of time. We use a pod in this core exercise. While on your elbows, slowly grab the pod with one arm and extend it out to the side, and then bring your arm back to the normal starting position. Prior to starting any exercise program, please consult with your physician to make sure you're not at any risk.
We get hundreds of emails every week, and the main topic is how to get sponsored. So we decided to go right to the source at JT USA and talk to Chuck Hench and see what he has to say. Maybe he can help you out. What do you look for in a team that you sponsor? You know, from start to finish, what are you trying to find in a marketable team?
Well, when JT Sports looks at teams to sponsor, I mean, of course, we want to sponsor the best teams in the world and the best players. We want the best players to represent our products, but there's more to it than that. On the pro level, there's a lot of competition. I think that's why we go after the best teams. But we look for loyalty. We look for ambassadors of the sport. We look for players and teams that are going to represent our products in a good light. They're out there wearing our stuff because they want to, not because they're sponsored. They play every weekend. They're helping out the store and the field in their area, promote the sport of paintball. So those are some of the things that we look at when we look at different resumes and things like that.
How important is it to get associated with your local field and store? I mean, when I first started out, started going to the store a lot. Then from there, got a relationship with our local store, and then we got in with the local paintball field. Is that really crucial? Is that important?
At JT Sports, we get hundreds of requests for sponsorship. I always encourage teams to seek out the field sponsorship first and the store sponsorship. Once they get in good with the stores and the fields, then as JT, a big company that we are, they're our customer, we're going to look to them and find out, well, who are the good teams in your area? Who should we sponsor in your area? We rely on the local field and stores to give us guidance, and then we can get you into an amateur sponsorship. That's the way it works in this industry.
What are the levels of sponsorship that you offer? Is it all just free product? I know a lot of people are asking, or do you give special pricing to some teams? Or I mean, obviously I know our deal is, which is tremendous, but what can a team that's just beginning to be sponsored by JT expect?
We have 3 levels of sponsorship. We have the full pro sponsorship. Then we have a partial, kind of a semi-pro sponsorship. And we have an amateur sponsorship. Teams, when they start off, again, they need to be realistic in their goals. But you can get into an entry-level amateur sponsorship through JT Sports or other companies. which basically you get a special price on the products. It's like a discounted price that distributors, you won't be able to find online or anything like that. Then you get into like a semi-pro sponsorship, which is usually partial product, so we give you free product and you get a special price as well. And we're going to start marketing you more, like getting your team in catalog or something like that, or use your team for some ads, things of that nature. That's kind of a level 2 sponsorship. And then you get into the pro sponsorship, which is what Dynasty has, and then we're talking about a multi-year contract, cash, you know, straight up. It's expensive to play the sport, we know that. You know, when you get into the pro ranks, I mean, they're going to, you know, 10, 15 events a year, they're practicing every weekend. You know, it might cost, you know, $700,000, $800,000 a year to run a team. So we do offer cash at that level. We're going to offer free product, of course. They're going to get a product allowance. And we're going to do some royalties with them, you know, where we'll create some products and give them a percentage on the products if we use their name associated with that product.
Do you expect these teams that you're sponsoring to have podium finishes, and do they have to place well in all the events to have a sponsorship?
Well, at the lowest level, you know, the local level, they don't necessarily have to win every weekend or, you know, compete in a bunch of tournaments. We really want them to go out there and push our products. You know, when they go to a field and someone comes over and says, hey, you know, what are you using, or how can I play better? You know, we want them to showcase our products, because, you know, our sponsored players on the field are going to influence the players that are just getting into the sport. And in turn, those players are going to go back to the shop and buy the stuff that the players are wearing. And when you're rocking the JT stuff, then all the other kids out there that are just getting involved are going to go out and see that JT is a good product and you know, it's something that they can stand behind. And that's what we like to see our sponsored players doing. You know, even at the pro level, I mean, at the pro level it's a little different because we're advertising those players. We're using them in ads, in videos, TV shows, things of that nature. I mean, you know, with, for example, Dynasty, they're the ultimate ambassadors of the sport. They're running clinics. They're flying around the world. They're doing signings at sporting goods stores. And they're wearing our logo, you know, and that's why a company in any sport is going to sponsor a player or a team, you know, because you get that exposure. So we're really looking for the exposure on all levels.
What don't you want to look for in a team? Like, what shouldn't you do as a sponsored team?
Some of the things we're not looking for are teams that are not loyal. For example, you know, you get a lot of players, they just, every time someone gives them something free, they switch.
Right.
You know, so they're constantly, you know, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, you know. You cannot have that attitude, and you want to be loyal. If we look at a resume and it's like, well, they were PMI this week, National this week, and Dye, and then JT, and, you know, the manufacturers all talk. I mean, it's a small industry. You know, we don't like to see teams jump around. Another thing that we don't like in teams is when they go out to a local field and they just beat up on all the new players. You know, that's the worst thing. You're not doing the industry a service that way. You're not doing us a service. You're giving us a bad name, and along with the field operator. You know, what kills me is when the team gets up there on the podium and they're not wearing anybody's logo. You know, you sponsored them, and that doesn't do us any good. You know, so we need you to represent. You know, you need to wear our hats and things like that, and our shirts at school. So you do need to go out and become an ambassador of the sport, put together a nice resume, you know, pictures wearing our products. I like to see teams that play every weekend, you know, and I like to see a history. If you commit for a year or a year and a half and you're playing every weekend and you're showing that support and you're working with the local stores and fields, you know, you might support different charities, you know, with paintball, help out with growing the sport. That on a resume looks great to me. You know, I'm gonna say, wow, these guys work with the church group. They have a high school club and some of their players play on a college team. Okay, that's a team that I can market and get behind. But again, it's a huge commitment. You know, it's a lifestyle. You have to be able to live the life of a paintball player. And those players that do that and make the dedication, those are the ones we're seeking to get a JT sponsorship.
Hey guys, well, that's it. That's a wrap. We're all finished here. Thanks for watching our video, and I hope you guys took a lot of information and knowledge out of this. Thank you again for all the support, for all our fans. We'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot for coming.